Welcome to Design for the Creative Mind. I'm your host, Lynne, interior designer, entrepreneur, and someone who's been building businesses in this industry for almost 2 decades. I run an award-winning interior design firm. I've coached over 1,000 designers. I've built and scaled multiple businesses around this industry because I genuinely believe that designers deserve to be paid well and run firms that actually work. And I've done it with a big team, a small team, and everything in between. So I'm not speaking from just a single season of experience. I'm speaking from all of them. This podcast exists because talented designers are leaving money on the table, burning themselves out, and wondering why the business isn't matching the quality of work. So every episode, we get into the real stuff. Pricing, procurement, operations, sales, the mindset it takes to lead a design firm with intention. No fluff, no motivational speeches, just honest conversation from someone who's still in it. So if you're ready to run your design business like a business, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Design for the Creative Mind podcast. This is our second episode with the lovely ladies. We are talking about the business behind the design. I want to introduce to you my guests. We have Ruth Ann Jansen with the Dove Agency. We have Melissa Lee with New South Home and Erika Bonnell with Erika Bonnell Interiors. This is so much fun. Last time we talked about hiring, we had so much fun together. We just said, let's just keep talking about the business behind the design. The episode got great feedback. So we're just, y'all, for those of you listening, we're just winging it today. I've got a few questions prepared, but we are here raw with all sorts of information for you. So yay, here we go again, girls.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So in my design firm, we are seeing clients show like strong interest, right? We get them, we're moving them through the process. But over the last, I don't know, 18 to 24 months, probably, like, are you guys seeing the same thing? Like they're taking a lot longer to sign the contract. They're being more analytical. And then maybe they sign the contract and then we're breaking it up into multiple phases. And then they're analyzing the purchases. Like, what are you guys seeing?
All of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that. And I think we have been analyzing ourselves and wondering what might be contributing to all of this, because I feel like it's not just one thing. I think it's a lot of things contributing. I think it's financial insecurity when things seem a little unstable. I think it's the introduction of AI, and everyone's popping everything into AI to see, is this the right fee? Is this designer good? Can I do this myself? Like, I feel like there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would just add to that a little bit too, is the idea that I do think just interior design in general doesn't seem so unattainable anymore. Like maybe over the last X number of years, I mean, I don't have the exact amount of time here, but to that point, because it's more of like a buyer's market around the services, there's more discernment, it's slower, there's more competition, there's different aspects of it that haven't always been the case with regard to this industry as a whole. And I think that's contributing to some of it as well.
It's a great perspective.
I totally agree. It's every time I turn around, there's another designer in my market on Instagram showing pretty pictures. And now your pretty pictures can be created by AI. So, I've seen a lot of accounts where they're just posting a lot of AI renderings and you don't even know if they're doing any design or not. But
Right.
a lot of followers because of the renderings they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something I think is out there as well.
So have you guys added anything to your contract, or how are you protecting yourselves? Like, do you have expiration dates? Like my contract has this price is good for X amount of days.
Yeah.
And then my contract expires on a certain date.
We say that for any quotes that we give, it's 30 days is kind of like that time. And it says that at the bottom of the proposal. But we have started thinking about having like a time length, and we haven't implemented it yet. But it's like if a project goes beyond a year or 2 years, and maybe it's just a year, like I'll be interested in everybody's take on this here. But, once it goes beyond a year or once it goes beyond 2 years, then obviously we need to revisit and rethink about that and what are the implications. I have not thought about that yet. We do have one project that we started almost 3 years ago, and we have not even finished selections. It's just been the amount of time that's gone into architectural
Wow.
reviews, and the clients aren't in as much of a hurry. You know, they have multiple properties, so for them, it's not like they're selling a house, they won't have a place to live. So we've had to go back to them and say, listen, you know, we need to collect more hours because we've exhausted our first portion of that because it's been going on for 3 years at this point. So, and they've been fine with that. So I think, again, we've been seeing the length of time on those for
What
sure.
if they're not making decisions fast? Do you guys have penalties for that? We had a client a
I do.
year and a half ago. Yeah. So tell
I
me
have
about that,
so
Erika.
I have something just based on history and things that have caused us some issues in the past. So in our contract, we state once design is complete, if you don't move into execution within 30 days, we automatically put your project on hold. And then there's a restart fee once you're ready to kick back. We also, in our contract, state that if we never get to execution, there is a penalty for that because we only take projects that we foresee completing. We're not
Yes.
interested in designing and then never seeing you again. And then, as far as in the design phase, we have payment blocks. And if payment isn't received, we won't hold the meetings. So we try very hard to make sure that there is an action item for the client that tells us if we're going to be spending additional time on this project or not. Because if we're not, we put it on hold. They know it's going on hold. We say, hey, it's been this many days. You're going on hold. We'll have to restart later with the restart fee and then scheduling when we're ready to put you back in.
I just typed up all those ideas. Those are great, Erica.
They are. Yeah, they come in
that
handy.
I've seen, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. One of the things that we've seen with a few of our, especially newer designers, is where, you know, they are planning on the project being a big one, right? Like they've got the design and then they've got all the furnishing. It's like the whole enchilada. And what happens many times is they will get some of the design fees, but they've staggered those out and things will start to stall before the furnishing piece even happens. And unfortunately, some of their pricing modeling is contingent on the making the margin on the furnishings. So when that doesn't happen, they didn't make the design fees that they thought they, you know, because they were haircutting those a little bit because they wanted to get to the
They
other
wanted the
pieces,
project,
right?
yeah.
And so I would be interested, I'm not trying to ask a question, Michelle, but I'd be interested to see if y'all have any safeguards around that, because that's something we've had to kind of counsel on several times with, especially, like I said, newer designers.
Girl, this is a conversation. I'm not the only one asking questions. I'm just facilitating so we're not sitting here staring at each other. I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Erica. I'd love to
I
hear
think
what your
I
thoughts are.
I think it's very tricky when you're a newer designer because your pipeline might not be as full.
Yeah.
When your pipeline is fuller, you're much more comfortable saying, okay, well, we're not going to chase you. We're not going to push you, because then that starts creating this really weird feeling between the client and the designer. So it's nice when you can just say, hey, and it also is great incentive for that slower client to say, hey, I'm popping someone else in this time slot. So you're going to get pushed back. And I can guarantee oftentimes, you know, kind of like the unattainable boyfriend or what, the minute they like, you know what it is? It's like you want them even more. I don't know if I have time for you right now. But sometimes if you can just say, hey, you're coming out of the queue now because I need to keep, this is a business and I've got to keep things rolling.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Agreed. I think one thing we've been looking at, especially with like projects like that, where it's new builds and then potentially furnishings, and they're going on for years and years and years. We are quoting the price to do all the finishes and the selections for the new build, and it's based on how many hours we anticipate it will take, and that is the upfront quote. And it is based on, and I know Ruth Ann, you and I have talked about this, but it's like you could do essentially quote unquote a flat fee to present the design package. Then you're doing hourly for all of that construction, management, and execution. Not that we're managing it, but we're also kind of overseeing it. And it's hourly for that. But then the furnishings piece is totally separate, right? You're just and you are charging per room, because a lot of the time the amount of rooms that they may be furnishing may change because the selections went over budget and now they
I
don't have
know.
as much money. So then giving them quotes at that time that's based on per room, it's not necessarily saying to do the selections for the and furnishings for the entire home is this much per square foot. We are really looking at it as two separate amounts, because some houses take 2 to 3 years to 5 years to
Yeah,
build, and your fees could be totally different by the time you start furnishings.
absolutely.
So I've like that, and we're starting to implement that, and that's kind of the conversation we're having. We're not even talking about furnishings and how much it's going to be to furnish until we get 9 months before the completion date. And then where are we at?
Especially with new builds, because it oftentimes furnishing budget dries up before you get there. So oftentimes
Yep.
people need to recover before they can get to and then it's not. We've gone into so many custom new builds that in the end we're like, can we ever get to our furnishings? Can we ever get there? And it even has me questioning whether I want to continue with these big custom new builds, because it is long and you are so in depth, and sometimes surprises happen and it takes even longer, and then money drains, and then it's like, okay, wow, that was a lot. And then do you have a finished project ever to show for it?
Yeah, and that's interesting. To your point, Erica, like we have seen at our firm a real rise in procurement services recently. And I think with some larger firms that have these projects that are spanning 1, 2, 3 years, because, and some of them are small, they're exclusive, but they're small. And I think to your point, and this is kind of the way your firm works in some ways, is that, you're wanting to get back into design and not chasing these items for 3 years and doing the order track, all of those pieces of that. And we've seen which has been surprising to me, because procurement is very much for us like up and
Absolutely.
down. And it's very like with the economy and with all these things that seem like it's tethered to. But for whatever reason right now, I think just like everybody's saying this, the projects are taking longer than expected, and you're getting weary, and you're just like, please let me and my team just do these other things and get this off of our plate. And I think that's what is driving a lot of it. It's
I
been
think so
very
too. And what I teach a lot of my clients, my interior design coaching clients, not my design clients. I know it gets
yes.
kind of confusing. Is that you need to price every single piece of the services that you provide as standalone. So your design fee, if they decide to take that design and go chat GPT, where can I get items that are very similar or the same to these, that you feel very well compensated for your design genius. And then you can add furniture on. But
Yeah, great.
if you are haircutting it, to use that's a great term. If you're trimming your design fee so that you can get to the furniture, you're basically cutting your legs out from underneath you.
Absolutely.
It's
And
hard.
also, like, I mean, this is just, kind of my view on just after working with all of y'all for so long, is that, I mean, that's like you said, you already said it. That's where the genius lies. Like, the genius is not in getting on the horn and getting those items into the receiver. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's a lot of work, and you have to have very, pristine processes to make that happen. But that doesn't require the three of you's creative genius to make that happen, right?
I will say though, I get I don't want to say upset, but kind of upset. If someone tries to take that design and recreate it, it will never look as if
Ever.
would if we executed and installed ourselves. And that's what people need to understand is you can use whatever chat, whatever trades, whatever you want, but it is never going to be as good if we don't do the execution.
Let's also talk about the processes that we have to have in place, like repeatable processes necessary to foster this efficiency. But in my opinion, it's the education of the client. So throughout our sales processes, like we need to have repeatable touch points with our clients where we're educating them on that, where we're educating them on the fact that it's not like HGTV and it's like, rainbows and fairy dust and poof, the commercial's over and it's beautiful. So
Yeah.
to your point, Erika, it will never look the same, but are we telling the client why?
So there's so many nuances within why. And it's
But
like
we know that.
we
We
know
know
that,
that.
but it's so hard to even educate all of those nuances, because sometimes it's a matter of where are you hanging your art when you're trying to do it yourself, and your art is way off, but they don't realize how off it is. And there's
Doesn't feel right.
so much nuance within the process and the execution on install day.
Well, part of what we're doing in our scope of work proposal, which we started doing within the last year, is like when we're presenting to them, this is our estimate on how much it's going to cost to furnish a room, and these are the design fees and everything. We're actually going through, this is what a room costs at retail. And this is, just to give you an idea of level setting. If you were to go and get this at Pottery Barn or Restoration Hardware or whoever we want to say is kind of that nationwide retailer out there that people are familiar with, and that level sets them from the standpoint of like, well, if I'm not even getting anything truly designed and custom, this is how much you're spending. And then we go into why would you buy furnishings from us? What are we giving you? It's for us being in North Carolina, they're North Carolina manufacturers. There's a lot of customization and custom details. And we're making a point as a team to do more customization and custom details than we have in the past to make sure that there is a difference and there is a reason and there's something unique about why they're purchasing through us. The other side of it too that I've started being really wary about is this idea of them shopping us on Chat GPT. We used to send our design presentations to everybody throughout the process, and I'm starting to think about and not do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I don't want to give that to them until they've committed to this is all the furnishings we're purchasing, because I don't want them to go behind and shop us. And I do think for the most part, the clients that we're working with are hiring us for a reason. They do not want to do it themselves. They want somebody to handle it for them. They're not trying to shop us. But still, there is that thing of like, I don't know if I want to give all this away yet. They've only paid for the design fee and they could go
Right.
buy this somewhere else. So we are
So
thinking about
interesting
how
these
much. Yeah.
days.
And that
Everything's changed so much.
Well, that's something I do think that if there is more education to be had, to your point, Michelle, is I don't think that the end user is always aware of how different the furnishings are. Even if they look the same on chat, the ones that you all are getting through your trades are exponentially different quality. I just think that somebody has to have a real appreciation for that and be educated for these vendors that y'all have, established relationships over decades, if you will. And that I don't think is always known by your end clients, right? Is that how different your product is versus what they're seeing on chat. And that's why the differential is there in the price.
Absolutely. And I think that also sharing with them how much time we're saving. So you can go ahead, go purchase something from cheap furniture from overseas.com, right?
Yes.
Knock yourself out. But let me tell you what I'm going to do to save. Yeah, but part of our sales process is I try to scare them. Like I'll tell them like, and we're walking through our contract, and here's a clause that says if you purchase something that was presented by us, that we get a fee associated with it, or if you buy it and then you want me to handle some of the issues, well, it's a very high hourly rate for me to do that. But then I explain to them why. And it goes back to Ruth Ann's point. It's that I've got these relationships and I can call my vendor, my sales rep, and say, this showed up and it's broken, and they handle it. So like I think that as for the people listening, as you get more sophisticated and your clients get more sophisticated and your projects get more sophisticated, thankfully, we're not running into that.
Correct.
They're paying us to save time. They're not paying us to save money. Like, they understand. So that has been one saving grace in the back of my head. It's like, it might be taking a little bit longer, but we're getting all the phases. We just need to keep that pipeline full because I need more clients.
Well, agree. Yes. And that is part of it. I think we're probably all getting better at vetting our clients as well. I don't know about you guys, but we've had a massive pruning and shaking and shakeout lately, aligning and finding the right people. We can see some of these right off the bat. And we're like, you know what? I don't think that this could be the right project for us. And we're dipping out before we get started.
We're
Absolutely.
actually actively kind of coordinating we just met with a contractor that's local to us who has a very unique position, which I think is genius, a design services coordinator. And her job is to find designers for these people that are coming to them for remodels.
Great.
They've
that's
got a few designers that they rely on, but she's the one that interviews them. She kind of figures out the needs and then she's referring them to the designer. And so I just had, a client come to me asking to do a project with no furnishings. We do not do remodels unless there's furnishings
yeah.
involved. And I said, no, that's kind of outside of the scope of we handle, but here, let me hand you to Sarah over here because she can do, not only can she do the construction, but she can also give you a designer. And then my hope is that when the right project comes to them and they're looking for a designer that would need furnishings, then they're referring us. And
The
so,
matchmaker.
Yeah, that's great.
That is a cool service. Yeah.
yeah. So again, trying to network with people that we can confidently refer them to, if we don't want the project, we're going to refer you to somebody else in this idea of paying it forward in the hopes that they're going to bring us the right client that comes to them.
So along that line, Melissa, as we're all working to elevate our brands, right? And we're attracting, like the goal is to attract a more luxury level client over and over and over, going back to the more sophisticated we get, the more sophisticated our clients are, the more sophisticated our projects are, and it just continues to elevate us. How are you guys evaluating which vendors, which showrooms, which project product lines are worth building relationships with?
We're currently in the process of that right now because as we kind of elevate, our offerings, and I think again, we're looking at it may not necessarily be a shift in vendor, it's a shift in how many extra details are we adding. For instance, we've had a big business with CR Lane. I know this is a big upholstery manufacturer that a lot of designers work with. Well, we haven't done a lot of contrast welting. You can put trim on it. They've got a lot of custom details that just kind of this minimalist look, wasn't really catering to. And now we're seeing more of those traditional details. So we're still using CR Lane. We're just upgrading the products by adding more of this customization. But then we also are going out and trying to make better relationships with local craftsmen for
Mhm.
more unique pieces, as well as just what are some of those higher end furniture manufacturers that we are seeing that we know are big, Highland House and some of those that maybe in the past we haven't been buying from, but then using some time in market to go into the showrooms to understand more of what they offer. So when that right client does come along, we are familiar with them.
So you're taking time
Mm-hmm.
and truly just going and doing some reconnaissance.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We're spending some extra time in market as a team, just like going antique shopping, doing some things that we haven't really done as much in the past, just so that we're better educated and we'll be ready when those clients do come along to know what to present to them.
That's fun. That's very fun. So instead of going real wide, you're going deep, but you're being intentional about who you are. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Going deep is smarter always because the relationship's stronger then. And you have more opportunity when you build those stronger relationships to get helped the way you need to get helped when there are issues that come.
Yeah.
So I want to ask like more of a technology question, but this really is showing us and myself and our listeners that technology is not going to take over because
No,
at the end of the day, y'all, this is a relationship built business with your vendors, with your clients, like
with
here
trade.
with us, with our
Yep.
colleagues, with,
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
just supporting each other. And like you said, Erica, with our trades. And if a client is going to drop your design into Chatty G, that's what I call her,
Chatty.
is if they're going to do that, they're really not your clients to begin with.
No, they're
There
not.
was there was a wrong alignment on the front end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing about and I also think that right now this is the new shiny toy that everyone wants to play with. And I think people are going to the more people that want to play with this without help of others will run into lots of barriers.
Yes.
And it's going to turn back around. It's just a little time.
I do think though, and everybody's already saying this about being educated, I do think having the idea that, your potential clients could be coming to you with these questions around AI and around how are you using this or are you using it? And then having that sort of arsenal of we use it in these instances where it makes sense behind the scenes for efficiency for our own team or whatever, however that works. but basically leaning into the vendor side of things, your own, creative experience, decades of doing this, all of those things, which are not in one iteration of a chat GPT, rendering, if you will.
Well,
So I do think that there are going to be, full circle, like you said, Erica, things that are going to happen with this, but people coming to you that have done this, it's more just like, sure, let me take a look at that and tell you why X, Y, and Z is that, you know what I mean? Because I don't see that stopping. Like, I think that people are kind of, like you said, they're doing all the things in there right now. And then it's not a gotcha moment, but it's like coming back and saying, look what I did. And you guys are like, oh, that's so terrible.
because you have people who aren't experienced in the
Yes.
industry inputting without understanding the proper prompts
Right.
to get what they really need back for it to be helpful.
It would be like me trying to dye my own hair. I know you guys are shocked. This is not my natural color,
You don't
but
know the questions to ask.
I don't know the
You
right
don't know
questions
the
to ask.
questions to ask,
I'd burn my hair down.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Mhm.
So y'all, with that, here's what I want to do. I want to wrap up this episode, and then let's just stay here, and we're going to record another episode, and I want to talk about technology, about AI, and all of that sort of jazz. So I think that this session is about relationships. It's about the people. It's truly about the human aspect of it. So let's do this. Y'all,
I have some stuff to add on that before you hang up on the relationships.
do you? Okay. Then
So I was going to say, kind of filtering in on how are we building those relationships. We've actually been actively working for the past 3 years to elevate our client experience from the standpoint of, like, at certain points, they're getting gifts. Everything that we are, when they sign the design agreement, they're getting a branded floral bouquet from our team that basically says, we're so excited to work with you, all the things. We are also personalizing a lot of the final gifts to them. We have a very specific client questionnaire that we ask, and a lot of it is like, where's your favorite place to eat? What charitable organization is important to you? And really getting into more of their personalities and their personal life. And we actually will review all of that before we even go to an initial consultation so that we're very familiar with what is the dog's name, what's the husband's name, who's living in the house, and all of those things, so that when we're showing up, it's not a computer, it's a human.
Mhm.
Have those conversations with them. And everything that I hear about with AI, I'm just like, we are headed in the right direction. Making this more of a personalized experience and bringing the human pieces into it with everything that we're doing just makes, yeah, again, it's just kind of, how can we just create a better, more luxurious, we're bringing you lunch, it's on, China,
Mhm.
all these things that are really pulling into the human factors of it is so important.
I love that. Have you read the book Unreasonable Hospitality?
I have not read that one. I've heard of it, but the one that I read was called The Gold Standard by Colin Cowie. Another really good one that I read about 3 years ago and started doing all of this based on that. So I've heard that the two books are very similar. But yeah.
Absolutely. It's because people are buying experiences.
Well,
Mhm.
and you can feel free to cut this out, but I have done all of that and we stopped.
Yeah?
Did not appreciate it. We would barely get thank yous at times. And you know what? I'm like, why are we killing ourselves and spending all this money and no one even says thank you? We stopped doing it.
Really?
We sure did.
No,
Interesting.
that makes sense. We're in the middle because
Yeah.
we used to go balls out,
We used to go bald out. Yep.
and then we've dialed it back. So
Yep.
we still have these touch points, but they're not going to be as, like, we don't necessarily need to have a Bloody Mary bar at
Yeah.
the design
We
presentation,
do
but
touch
we will
points.
take little dog treats to their house.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cute.
It's
Yeah.
small. It's much smaller than what it used to be for us because I don't know if I think it's different regions as well. I will say up here in DC, people aren't, I just think it's like, oh, that's cute and move along. I
I've
don't think it's
lived there
appreciated.
and I've lived
Get it.
here, and I could
Yeah.
not agree with you more,
Yeah.
Erica.
Market.
Yeah.
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 We
It's
could every
totally
single time.
different.
Yeah, every single time we send flowers, we're getting either an email or a text that says, like, "Oh my gosh, what a lovely surprise. Thank you
Yeah.
so much." And then it's really more of like the personal gifts and stuff. Like, we do have a follow-up call at the end of our projects, and my business manager handles those, and she does it to get reviews at the end of the project. but they will say the personal details that they put in the gift and the design and all of those things were just really thoughtful. And so we do give them the opportunity to give us feedback, and it all has been very positive, but we're
100%.
not like sending them to the Ritz or
Yeah.
anything, you
Yeah.
know? Right? It's just more of like, okay, you're getting flowers. We're so excited. Your gift is a little bit more personalized and all of that. But we do have a coffee bar set up in the office. We will bring some treats and lunch and stuff for them just to kind
Yeah.
of, and it's been making an impression on the builders actually. The builders are really impressed when they are at those meetings with us. And now they're referring us to, because they're like, nobody else is doing that. And that's been huge for us from just a referral networking.
I
Yeah.
love
Those
that.
builders are like, we're going with them because we'll get lunch out of it.
Exactly. Which is fine. Keep
And you
sending
make them
me
look
those
good.
$10 to
Absolutely.
$30,000 square foot projects. Great.
Yep. I love it.
Love, love, love it. All right. Well, then, girls, for the end of this episode, let's start with Ruth Ann and let the audience know where they can connect with you.
Ruth Ann Jansen. I'm the president of the Dove Agency, and you can find us at thedoveagency.com and on Instagram, Dove Agency. We're real easy to find.
Yay. Melissa, where can our audience find you?
I'm Melissa Lee with New South Home, and similar to Ruth Ann, we're real easy, newsouthhome.com, and we're on Instagram at New South Home.
Yay. And Erika, last but not least.
Same. I mean, I think we're all very easy to find. ErikaBonnell.com and same on Instagram, Erika Bonnell Interiors, I believe.
Yes.
Or who knows, strolling down the aisles in the grocery store, you never know.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for being here. Y'all, that is another episode of Design for the Creative Mind. Remember that none of this happens by accident. You need to be intentional about building your business. And if you found this episode helpful, please don't hesitate to share it with another designer who may be able to benefit and continue to elevate our industry. So until next time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, that's a wrap on today's episode. And I just want to say thank you for spending this time with me. I don't take it lightly that you chose to show up and listen, and I hope you're walking away with something you can actually use this week. If you want to keep going, come find me. The Design Bakehouse is where designers learn to build a business that's as beautiful as the spaces they create. Real coaching, real results. And if your operations need some attention and your sales and marketing, Sidemark was built specifically for that. 2 different places depending on where you are right now, but both designed with you in mind. You can find the links in the show notes. Oh, and one small ask. If this episode meant something to you, leave a review. It takes 2 minutes and it helps other designers find their way here. I appreciate it more than you know. I'll see you next week.